Welcome to Light Seekers, where we explore the mysteries of the spiritual realm, life, and the afterlife. In today's episode, we are diving deep into one of the most fundamental experiences that we all will face: death. But we're not just talking about the end of life as we know it. We're here to uncover the process of disincarnation, the separation of the soul from the body, and explore what really happens when we leave this physical existence behind. This journey is one that every soul must go through, yet it remains shrouded in mystery for many. Let's take a journey into the unknown. What exactly is disincarnation? Many of us have heard stories about near-death experiences or witnessed the passing of loved ones. But what happens to our consciousness when the body can no longer sustain life? Disincarnation refers to the process of the soul detaching from the physical body at the moment of death. It is an inevitable event for all living beings, including humans. Even beings as enlightened as Jesus Christ experienced this separation from the physical form, which means no one escapes the process, regardless of their spiritual evolution. It's the great equalizer. However, what happens next depends on numerous factors, including the life you led, your level of attachment to material existence, and the preparation of your soul for the transition. The spiritual mechanics of death. As we approach the moment of death, something profound happens. Our physical body begins to shut down, but the soul, the essence of who we are, remains fully conscious. During this phase, our spiritual guides, known as mentors or spiritual caretakers, step in to assist in this delicate transition. But how exactly does this work? From what we know through spiritual teachings and accounts from astral projectors and mediums, the process of disincarnation isn't uniform for everyone. The detachment of the soul from the body can be smooth or challenging depending on the individual's spiritual readiness and level of attachment to earthly concerns. For example, people who cling to their material possessions, relationships, and even their physical bodies may face a more difficult transition. This is because the process requires a profound detachment, not just from the body, but from everything you've known in this life. Whether you love your possessions or not, they are no longer yours after death. And the more you try to hold on to them, the harder it becomes to move forward into the next phase of existence. This is why spiritual traditions often emphasize detachment as a critical practice during life. By letting go, we are better prepared for the inevitable release at the moment of disincarnation. The role of spiritual guides and rescue teams. One of the most comforting aspects of the transition into the afterlife is that we are never truly alone. At the moment of death, spiritual guides, often referred to as mentors, are already present. These beings of light assist in the disincarnation process, helping the soul detach from the body and easing the transition to the next dimension. These spiritual guides are highly experienced in the art of transitioning souls. In many cases, they have been with us throughout our entire lives, subtly guiding us from the spiritual realm. When our time comes, they step in to ensure that we move peacefully from the physical plane to the astral one. But how do these teams work? And what does it feel like when they arrive? Many spiritualists and mediums describe these beings as incredibly compassionate, loving, and non-judgmental. Their purpose is to provide comfort and clarity to the soul as it experiences the physical body's final moments. Rescue teams are often sent to assist individuals who may be trapped in a state of confusion or fear due to sudden or traumatic deaths. In such cases, the rescue teams provide additional care, helping the soul understand that it has left the physical body and guiding it toward the light. For those who have lived spiritually conscious lives, this process tends to be smoother. The soul willingly leaves the body, fully aware that it is moving on to a new experience. However, for others, the disincarnation can feel abrupt or even shocking, especially if the individual was deeply attached to material life. The challenges of detachment. Let's face it, as humans, we love our things. We love our homes, our cars, our jobs, and our families. We are deeply attached to the material world, and these attachments can create obstacles during the process of disincarnation. When we cling too tightly to our earthly lives, we may find it difficult to let go when the time comes. Have you ever heard of someone saying they feel stuck after a loved one's death? In some cases, souls can become tethered to the material world, unable to fully transition to the spiritual realm because of their own attachments, or even the attachments of others. Imagine this scenario. You are at peace with your passing, ready to move on to the next phase of your existence. But those around you, the loved ones you are leaving behind, are not ready to let you go. Their emotional attachments, their cries of "don't leave me," can create an energetic pull that makes it harder for the soul to fully disengage. In this sense, our emotional attachments can become a barrier to a peaceful transition, for both the living and the departed. This is why spiritual detachment is often emphasized as a necessary practice. The less we cling to our earthly possessions and relationships, the easier it becomes to surrender to the process of disincarnation. Are we protected during death? One of the most common fears surrounding death is the fear of the unknown. Will we be safe? Will we be protected? What happens if we've spent our entire lives with negative spiritual influences or even obsessions? Many people worry about the presence of negative entities during their final moments. What if you've been dealing with spiritual obsessions or dark energies throughout your life? Will these energies follow you into the afterlife? The good news is that we are, indeed, protected during the process of disincarnation. Even if you've had spiritual challenges or negative attachments during your life, it doesn't necessarily mean you will be dragged into darker realms after death. The key lies in your spiritual state at the moment of passing. If you've lived a generally positive, ethical, and spiritually aware life, you are likely to be protected by your spiritual guides. Even if you've had attachments to negative energies, as long as your overall frequency is aligned with the light, those negative influences will not be able to follow you into the afterlife. In fact, one of the roles of spiritual guides is to shield you from such influences during your transition. For instance, if you've struggled with a particular vice or addiction, the spirit associated with that addiction may have been influencing you throughout your life. But if your overall spiritual state is one of goodness and kindness, you won't necessarily be condemned to a lower vibrational realm. Your guides will protect you and help you ascend beyond those influences. However, it's important to note that if someone has spent their entire life in a state of moral and spiritual degradation, constantly surrounded by negative energies, they may face a more challenging transition. But even then, spiritual rescue teams will be working to help that soul move forward. Near-death experiences and temporary disincarnation. Many people have reported experiences where they temporarily left their bodies, often during traumatic events like accidents or surgeries. These experiences, known as near-death experiences, NDEs, provide us with valuable insights into the process of disincarnation. In most NDEs, individuals describe leaving their bodies and observing what is happening from a distance. But here's the key difference. In a near-death experience, the soul is still tethered to the body by what is often called the silver cord, an energetic link that keeps the soul connected to the physical form. When the cord is cut, full disincarnation occurs, and the soul moves on permanently. But in an NDE, the soul can return to the body because the silver cord remains intact. People who have had NDEs often describe feelings of peace, lightness, and unconditional love. Many report being greeted by spiritual beings or loved ones who have passed before them. Much like what happens during full disincarnation, these experiences offer a glimpse into what awaits us when we truly leave this world behind. The role of astral projection in understanding death. Astral projection, or out-of-body experiences, OBEs, offers us another lens through which to understand the process of disincarnation. Many individuals who practice astral projection describe the experience of leaving their physical bodies and traveling to other dimensions or planes of existence. Though they remain connected to their bodies through the silver cord, these journeys provide insight into the realms that await us after death. Astral projectors often report encountering spiritual guides, deceased loved ones, and even higher dimensional beings during their travels. These experiences suggest that the afterlife is not a distant, unknowable realm but one that we can explore even while we are alive. Through astral projection, we can gain a better understanding of the transition that awaits us all. The soul's journey is vast, and death is not the end. It's simply the next step in our evolution. The emotional impact of disincarnation. One aspect of death that is often overlooked is the emotional experience of both the individual passing and those they leave behind. Disincarnation isn't just a physical separation. It's an emotional one, too. For the soul, there may be feelings of relief and liberation as it moves beyond the limitations of the physical body. However, there can also be sadness or confusion, particularly if the individual was not spiritually prepared for death. For the living, the emotional impact of disincarnation can be profound. Grief is a natural part of the process, and it's important to allow ourselves to feel these emotions fully. But spiritual teachings also remind us that death is not the end. Our loved ones continue to exist, albeit in a different form, and they are often still able to communicate with us from the spiritual realm. Mediums and psychics often talk about receiving messages from those who have passed, and many report that the souls of the deceased are watching over their loved ones, providing guidance and protection from the other side. Knowing this can provide immense comfort to those left behind. offering hope and reassurance that the connection is never truly lost. How can we prepare for our own disincarnation? Now that we've explored the process of death and disincarnation, the question arises: how can we best prepare for our own transition? Spiritual traditions across the world emphasize the importance of living consciously. This doesn't just mean being aware of your surroundings or practicing mindfulness. It means living in a way that aligns with your highest values and purpose. By doing so, we prepare our souls for a smooth transition when the time comes. Here are a few ways you can prepare. 1. Cultivate detachment. Begin practicing spiritual detachment now. While it's natural to love your family, friends, and possessions, it's essential to understand that these attachments can create obstacles during disincarnation. By cultivating detachment, you prepare yourself for the ultimate release when the time comes. 2. Live with integrity. Your soul's journey after death will largely depend on the life you've lived. By living with integrity, kindness, and compassion, you raise your vibrational frequency, making it easier to transition into the higher realms when you leave this life behind. 3. Meditate and connect with spirit. Regular meditation and spiritual practices can help you stay in touch with your higher self and the spiritual guides who will assist you in your transition. The more you connect with the spirit world now, the less fear and confusion you will feel when the time comes to leave your physical body. 4. Make peace with death. Death is a natural part of life. By making peace with it, rather than fearing it, you free yourself from the anxiety and resistance that can make the disincarnation process more difficult. Embrace death as the next step in your soul's journey. Conclusion. Disincarnation is one of the most profound experiences we will ever face. It is a gateway to the next phase of existence, a journey that every soul must take. While it can seem frightening to those of us still in physical form, the truth is that the afterlife is filled with love, light, and spiritual guidance. By understanding the process of death and disincarnation, we can better prepare ourselves and those around us for the journey ahead. Whether you're seeking peace, comfort, or spiritual insight, remember that death is not the end. It is simply the next step on the soul's infinite journey. Thank you for joining us today on Light Seekers as we explored the mysteries of disincarnation. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more spiritual insights. And remember, the journey never ends, it just changes form.